Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Garcia, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
We have a special show today. My good friend, Adrian Garcia, who has an incredible history in Houston, currently on the Commissioner's Court as a Commissioner for Precinct 2. Adrian, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited.
Likewise.
I'm glad I survived the rain, finally getting in.
Exactly. Glad you're here safely.
Well, thanks. You know, this is a fun show. We try to make it fun. We try to laugh. So we'll start with the fun, easy questions. What is your dream car? You may have it already.
I do.
What is your dream car?
I do. It's a cross between a 57 Chevy Bel Air and a 32 Ford Coupe Dragster.
Is this an imaginary car in your mind?
No.
You actually have it?
I can't decide between the two.
Oh, okay. I was like, is this like a mutt of a car?
I cannot decide between the two. And
okay. Well, I mean, both are classic.
Yeah. I mean, one's a fun car. The other's a true classic. But I'm a big fan of both.
Which one do you more lean to?
The Dragster.
Yeah. Because you like speed.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice little muscle car. And having seen the movie American Graffiti, it reminds me of the yellow roadster that comes out in it. So it's always stayed in my mind. So maybe one day my wife will, feel some sympathy for me and maybe let me buy one.
Yeah, I know her. I'll try to convince her. I don't know how that was going to go. But I'll tell you what, my midlife crisis, I bought a Hellcat.
Oh.
Yeah, so I shouldn't be talking to law enforcement about this car a bit. 807 horsepower.
Wow.
Okay, fastest car made today. It is incredible. Because we're recording, I'm not going to tell you what speed I've been up to.
I was going to say, you're probably wearing a parachute.
But it's fun. It's fun because it's power. It's just, it's the old American
muscle car
technology that is so dear to so many of our hearts. All right, what's your favorite type of food?
I'm sort of a foodie. I eat anything. I'll try anything. Having grown up on some good homemade, Mexican food, that's obviously my first choice. But having visited, been blessed to be able to visit a few Michelin restaurants, I will appreciate those as well.
The fancier ones.
Yeah.
The fancier ones.
With the wine pairing and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have, like on your Mexican food, so that's your go-to, grew up in, Now, when we talk about Mexican food, are you talking Tex-Mex or Mexican food?
So I grew up on the authentic stuff.
Okay.
And so obviously that is my go-to.
So is that like mole?
Yeah, mole, menudo. So the pozole. Those are the some of the authentic dishes. But obviously Tex-Mex is home.
Yeah, 'cause that's my favorite.
It's king here.
I can eat fajitas every day, all day long.
Yeah.
I don't know. People think I'm crazy.
I just ate at a restaurant this weekend, and I was commenting to one of my colleagues here that I had their carnitas, and I was not expecting to be impressed, but I was. It was good.
Okay, you have to give me the name later because I want to taste that. Listen, Al Pastor. I want to find a good place for Al Pastor and carnitas.
Man, the best place to find Al Pastor is on the street, man. It's
the trucks.
Yeah, that's where you get it.
That's
man.
what I hear.
That's good stuff.
That's what I hear. All right, of all the places you've traveled, what's your favorite place to go to?
Favorite? It's hard. It's really hard.
Come on, man, pick one.
Man, I'll tell you, my favorite is Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, been to Rome and Venice, but Italy has so much more to offer. I want to get to Sardinia. I want to get to Tuscany. I want to go to the other places.
Those places.
Yeah.
Sardinia is beautiful.
Yeah.
And Venice is actually probably my number one place.
Yeah.
I think Venice is just something about it.
It's gorgeous.
And the food, and you can just turn any corner and walk into a little restaurant with 4 tables, and the food is incredible, and the ambiance. I do love Venice. Yeah. All right, so tell me about Adrian Garcia. I want to know how you became you.
Man,
Like I was born in the middle.
it was all accidental, man. No, look, I guess I would first begin by saying that, look, where I grew up, which is not too far from here, I always refer to it as a tough neighborhood where tough things happen. I was just writing, in fact, recalling how guys I grew up with are either dead or have made a visit to either the county jail or to the state prison system, or unfortunately are still on the same porch steps that we used to hang out on. For me to be here coming from that is pretty incredible. So the good Lord is either very, very kind, or he has an incredible...
So you were born in Houston.
Born and raised, only American born in my
raised
family.
in this area, not too far
Yep.
from downtown Houston.
Yeah.
Tough area.
Near Northside, yeah.
Tough area. Why would you say you didn't go down the route to some of your friends and neighbors?
I was getting to that, and it's because of my parents. My father raised 5 boys, one girl, and if you would talk to any of the guys that I used to hang around with back then, they will tell you that if you wanted to find Adrian, all you had to do was look down, because my dad was an auto mechanic. Had me working on cars.
Love your dad already.
Yeah, had me working on cars, changing oil, brake jobs, and so I was always under a car or working on a car in some regard. When he was in his later years, he asked me to forgive him because he knew he had been tough. And I said to him, "What are you talking about? Asking for forgiveness? Are you out of your mind? Look what I am today. I'm a council member. I had a great police career. Why would you dare think you needed to be forgiven?" And he said, because I know I was hard. And I said, "Yeah, Dad, but if you weren't, imagine where I would have been. Imagine where 5 boys could have ended up in circumstances." The influences were out there. I give all the credit to my mom and dad. My dad was a hard-working guy, and had a very, very spiritual way of being. He couldn't recite any verse in the Bible, but the way he lived and handled himself was really biblical. Yeah, and I remember people walking up to the shop asking for money, and my dad would say, "I don't give money, I give jobs." And so people would start working that day, and then some of them would end up being a guest in our house because he would give a bed in a room to them and our food.
Although there were 6 kids already there.
Yeah. And so, and then I remember one time we were visiting Mexico, and we were driving alongside the mountainside, and there's a guy hitchhiking, and so my dad, without thinking, pulls the van over, and we're all like, "What the hell are you doing? The guy could be a mass murderer, or Dad." And so he tells the guy, "Where you going?" And they talk, and he says, "Well, I can get you to this place. That's as far as I can take you." He gets in the station in the van. He tells my mom, "Make him something to eat." She puts some food together, and they're talking. And meanwhile, all the boys are looking for weapons, to defend
Defense
ourselves.
mechanisms.
Yeah, exactly. And so we get to his destination. He lets him out, and then my dad turns around and he looks at us and he says, "If that were you, would you want me to stop?" And so he had a really interesting way of
making it biblical Samaritan again, right?
Making us understand things. So those lessons stayed very close to me, impacted me as I began to really understand them. And so a lot of what I do today, and a lot of how I try to be today, is really a credit to my father.
Are they still with us?
No, my dad passed in 2004. My mom is still with us. She's about to celebrate 100.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, what an accomplishment.
Yeah, right.
God bless her.
And so, my mom, she's, look, I always tell people I'm built to work because my dad worked like a mule. My mom was, a housewife. She was a mother, but she was a janitor by night, and she would drive my school bus by day. And then she would figure out anything she could do in between all that to put some money on the table. And so incredible ethic, work ethic, and an incredible commitment to her family.
It sounds like your parents are very, I don't know if the right word is typical, right? But I think immigrant parents, to a certain point, my family, immigrant as well, they all worked at a toy factory when they came from Cuba. And I mean aunts and grandmother and grandfather, because you didn't know the language, and when you're here, you were going to work, and you would work and work and work and work. That's all you did, was work and work and work to try to get around, right? We all lived in a little apartment, 2 aunts, an uncle, my mom, myself, my grandmother, my grandfather, all, of course I was a baby, but they're all trying to work to survive. And my dad's in Cuba paying a price because they wouldn't let him out until a year later. Your parents have that, you can tell that they have that work ethics. You work, put something on the table, work, honest work, right?
Yep.
Honest work, hard labor sometimes. Mechanic isn't an easy job. Do you think that's changed today?
Nope.
No?
Nope. I mean, every single day, families who are, I'll just give you an example. This past weekend, we just recently announced a naturalization initiative that we're doing here in Harris County, something that I helped to champion through our process. And I'm at an event, and the people responsible for cleaning the place are coming up to me going, I saw the announcement on TV. Could you please give us information? We want to become citizens. And so I think there's that story of our parents is still alive and well. And for me, I just hope that guys like us who saw it first and up close, that we don't forget what.
Because I know that, just a story, right? Let's say that I got in trouble in school. My parents, first of all, didn't know English.
That's right.
And they were not going to question the teacher.
That's right.
And I would get in trouble at home. It didn't matter what my defense was, right? If the teacher said you did it, and you better watch out.
That's right.
You think that's still the same?
I think so. I think so. I think that there is still a significant amount of family pride to not see their kids get into trouble and
respect, right? You respect your elders, you respect authority, you respect
and not put to disgrace what the family is doing. Another story of my family. When my family immigrated to the United States, we were on our way to Houston, and my dad crosses the border, and he pulls the station wagon over immediately, tells everybody to get out. My oldest brother was like, is the station wagon on fire? And he says, nope, we're going to get out and pray. And so later on, as I would hear the story often, I asked my brother, what was the prayer like? And my brother goes, I don't know, man. It sure sounded like the national anthem. And the prayer was, thank you, God, for letting us come to this country. We're going to work hard. We're going to play by the rules, and we're going to give this country back everything that she gives us. And so
that's phenomenal.
Yeah. And so I think that story is still
given the opportunity. It's still there.
People want to work hard. They just want to hand up. They don't want to hand out, and they just want to have the opportunity to contribute.
So 6 kids, you're number what?
Number 6.
You're the last.
Yeah.
The accident?
Yeah, close. My mother was hoping.
There's never an accident.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean.
My mom was hoping for another girl, but
And here comes Adrian.
Yeah.
All right, so you grow up in a great family, parents that taught you how to be respectful, work hard. So you graduate from high school. I mean, what did you want to do? What was the first thing you did?
The first thing I wanted to do, the first thing I was doing, I was already in business with my dad. Automatic transmissions were the up and coming thing, and I learned how to rebuild them and overhaul them, and so I had a little.
Man, that's a whole new world I didn't know about you.
Yeah, I had a whole side hustle going, and I was doing jobs at my high school, and so my dad was already, the name of his shop was called Garcia and Son, because my oldest brother was in business with him, so he was already painting the apostrophe S, and but it was my mom who came to a shop one day to drop off food. And she looked at me and she says, "You're not happy." And I said, "About what?" And she goes, "You're not happy." And I said, I'm happy. You know, I'm not sad.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And she goes, no, I don't think this is for you. I think you need to look at what your brother's doing and think about that. The brother she was referring to was Ignacio, who was already a Houston police officer. And so I was like, wow, okay. So
How old were you right now at this point?
at this point, I'm maybe 18.
Okay.
Or
Graduated
maybe
from high
19,
school?
19.
Okay.
And so I go and apply, and my father did not know that I was applying, and so went through the entire process, and now it is a required family interview by the police recruiter. So I have to tell my dad that, there's a police officer that needs to talk to you, and he's like, what you do? Yeah, like, nothing, it's, I'm applying for the police department. And he's like, what? I said, I want to be a policeman. And he says, well, tell that person to come over. So they meet and talk. Then afterwards, my dad looks at me and he says, if you're going to be a cop, I need you to do 5 things. Don't be ashamed that you're Mexican. Don't be ashamed that your name's Garcia. Don't bring shame to your name. Be honest, but never forget where you come from. He goes, you do that and things will be good. And so I've tried to do that.
All right, so you're 19, you join HPD. How long did you do that?
23 years.
23 years. What were the different levels or ranks that you had within their divisions that you worked with?
So I worked in patrol, which is, man, still the happiest time of my life. You see so much, you meet so many good and interesting people. You get to help a lot of people when you're a beat cop. And so I worked as a street officer. Then I became an investigator in the organized crime squad and worked on some very, very interesting cases.
Is organized crime drug or is that financial?
Everything. It was
any kind of organization?
Any type of organized crime, yeah. So I investigated drug smuggling, I investigated gun running, I investigated thefts from military bases of weapons, I investigated murder for hires, drug trafficking conspiracies. It was a pretty interesting. I did a lot of work with the FBI and the DEA, and then I became a community relations officer, and then I was asked by Mayor Lanier to help start the mayor's anti-gang office, and so I became the liaison to that office. But it was Mayor Brown who would then appoint me, even at the rank of police officer. He would appoint me as the director of that office. So I went from reporting to my police chief to talking to the police chief across the table.
Wow.
And setting policy.
I always say those are God moments, right?
Yeah, they are. And with the support of Mayor Brown, it would have never happened. And with the respect of Chief Bradford at the time, I wouldn't have been successful. And so those are true God moments.
So you're a director, but you're still working for HPD.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the police chief would sometimes remind me, don't forget who writes your report.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. All right, so you're there 22 years.
23.
Then, 23, then what?
Then I decided to do something much more dangerous than police work and run for public office. Mm-hmm. So I run for city council. I get elected. I get elected with Mayor Bill White. And Mayor White does something unique, and that is that he gives a rookie council member 2 chairmanships. And so I'm the chair of the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, and then I'm the chair of the Minority Women Business Enterprise Committee. And then ultimately he appoints me as his mayor pro tem, and then I receive a unanimous vote by members of council.
And how long did you do that for? So from councilman to vice mayor, how long?
That was a total of 5 years, because that's when I run for sheriff.
So you did. So now we're at 28 years. Adrian, you're older than I think. Don't tell me your age, but I thought you were my age. I'm making that think.
I'm younger than you.
I guess not, because I've been in this for 34 years. So I guess not. We're only at year 28. All right. So you're at year 28, and you decide to run for sheriff.
I run for sheriff, and it was, I didn't think I could win, didn't think I would win. But another God moment, I'm on the ballot with a young man named Barack Obama, and we sweep this county. I become the first Latino sheriff in the history of the county, and I end up receiving more votes than Barack Obama did. So I'm in the history books as the most voted for.
You know, I think it's fair to say, and you probably know this more than me because I'm not in the political world, but I think both sides, whether Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal, respected you as a sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
I can see you got more votes because I think you did a phenomenal job, and I think the city remembers you as sheriff.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah,
I get that a lot.
really do. You were very loved as a sheriff. The city got it. Everybody was in with you. So I can see that. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
All right. So you win the election.
I win the election. I serve 2 terms as sheriff.
What are the terms?
From 2009 to 2015.
So is that 4
It was 4-year terms, but I left early on my second term because I wanted to be the mayor of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And so I resigned my position, run, and lose to Sylvester Turner.
Mm-hmm.
And
Who just exited.
yeah, he just.
But wait, before you get to that part, though, you're sheriff. You're sheriff for how many years? Then you were 6 years.
Yeah, 6.5.
Almost 6.5 years. What was one of the most exciting? You can remember, go, man, this was just one of the most memorable moments of me being sheriff, and what was one of the worst?
I guess amongst the many exciting and just memorable moments as sheriff, it was the day that I met Sandeep Dhaliwal. Before taking office of sheriff, a sheriff deputy had made it to the home of a Sikh family. And because he did not understand the culture, he ended up handcuffing the entire family because within the Sikh community, one of their religious articles of faith is something called a kirpan. And their kirpan looks like a dagger, but it's not. And doesn't have a sharp edge or anything like that, but it's a religious item that they wear. And he couldn't get them to drop their knives. So he handcuffs them. And so this becomes big news. I go visit the community. I go to one of the temples, and everybody is, number one, demanding that I fire the deputy when I become sheriff for this egregious act. And I told them I would look into it and find out how it happened, why it happened, and whatever needed to be done, I would do it. I did not know that Sandeep would be in the crowd. And I made a statement of, look, anything I could do, any policies I could write, any training I can do, will be good. I'll make sure that it's best in class. But it won't be as good as if you were in the department. So I need you to please encourage your sons and daughters to come work for me. And I leave. Sandeep looks to his dad. Sandeep was a very successful businessman, had a 6-figure income already, and his father had been a police officer in India. And so he looks to his dad and he goes, "Dad, I've always wanted to be a policeman." So he starts off as a detention officer at almost, a fourth of what he was making. And then I meet him, and then we connect the dots. And one day I'm in my office and I'm looking through a magazine, and I see a U.S. military officer, Sikh, member of the Sikh community, in his military uniform, wearing his turban and beard. And I look at it and I said to my staff, I said, if the military can do this, why can't we? Mm-hmm. And so I then began to bring people together, my general counsel. We worked to craft a policy, understand all the legal ramifications, and I created the religious accommodation policy. Then I called up Sandeep, and I said, "Sandeep, I've created this. I'm not telling you now go wear your turban and your beard. I'm just telling you it'll be available to you. Now, I'm going to tell you that I don't want you to do it. I want you to think hard about it. I want you to visit with your family, talk to close advisors, go speak to your your religious leaders, and get counsel on this. I said, and the reason I say that is because there's a lot of ignorance in our community. You're already a target, you can be a bigger target.
You're putting another target on you.
Yeah. And so Sandeep did all that, got the counsel from those important to him, came back and says, I'm ready. And he became the first Sikh full-time deputy in U.S. law enforcement history. Other Sikhs had been involved in law enforcement, but they were either reserve deputies or they were in non-law enforcement roles. And it became international news. A friend of mine was traveling in Canada and was in a cab, and the cab was being driven by a Sikh member of the community. And he goes, oh, hey, so you're a Sikh. Well, my wife is in Houston, and they're inaugurating the first Sikh deputy. And he goes, I'm watching it on live stream. And the Mayor Parker at the time, is visiting India at the same time. And she's frustrated because all they want to talk to her about is this Sikh deputy that is happening in Houston. Sandeep ended up losing his life. But his courage and his persona, I've never met
And for
anybody.
those that are not in Houston, when he lost his life and the city rallied around his family and that community in an incredible show of love. And sad that happened, but that also, unfortunately, is also a good moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because the city of Houston, which is known for its love, rallied around one of its own.
Because of Sandeep, there is an unprecedented number of Sikhs now practicing their faith, but serving our community as law enforcement officers, whether in the Houston Police Department, whether in the constable's offices, and there's now more within the sheriff's office.
Well, and a man that, with a team, changed the rules for better.
Yep.
For better. Hey, so what's one of the bads? And I know as we talk about somebody that lost their lives, there's so much bad that could happen. But what is one of those moments where you're just like, man, what did I get myself into?
Having been in law enforcement and growing up in it, you're very little shocked me. But I guess the things that hurt the most was when a member of the department would violate the public trust. Those were always the most difficult. I'd already unfortunately experienced the homicides and seen the trauma of sexual assaults and horrible car wrecks and things of that nature. But I could never get over when someone would taint the badge and just create more distrust than we already had as a result of one person's actions, who would ultimately indict an entire department. Those were always the hardest because they were always preventable, avoidable, and no one could be mistaken that they wouldn't know any different.
Right, and so hard to regain. It takes so long to regain that trust. Right, in the dealership world, in the automotive world, if you lose a customer, the last survey I saw, it takes $10,000 to gain that customer back, right? Mm-hmm. So you lost a customer for whatever, $500, or you need to change a wheel. It's going to cost you $10,000 in advertisement
just to get that one back.
To get that one back.
Yeah.
The damage is so hard sometimes. Mm-hmm. With all the craziness that has gone on in the past few years, if you don't want to answer, it's okay, but do you think that people have lost a little respect for police officers?
Enrollment into volunteer service into all branches of the military is down unprecedented, at an unprecedented level. The Army is working hard to build community relations to encourage enrollment. We're having a hard time recruiting folks today within the sheriff's office and all law enforcement departments in the region. So when you see the military struggling as much as law enforcement to find those people to come over, it's hard to figure out exactly what it is. But when you have cases like George Floyd that, really get the attention of an entire nation, if not a world, of something that people had been saying all along, and then finally you see it live and in color. There was the Rodney King situation that happened in California. One of the first times ever captured, that kind of beating ever captured on camera. Those things accumulate, and then it creates a conversation where we as law enforcement leaders are saying, it's that person or it's those 5 guys. Don't distrust everybody else.
It's the 1%.
But it is in spite of that, that conversation that we try to set. Those singular incidents do affect us all, and it's hard to recover from that. I used to have a pastoral advisory, and I would bring my toughest situations to them to help me think through them and figure out how to.
Pastoral being pastors?
Yeah. How to figure out how to communicate it and share it with the community, how to resolve it, how to fix it, what are the steps going forward. That was I did it for the sake of building relationships, but it was also very foresightful in that they were very, very helpful in giving me perspectives to the things that I wasn't thinking about, and were very helpful in helping me move the organization forward, because the department I inherited had a horrible community reputation. And so I would always tell the guys and gals in the department, when people see a sheriff's deputy patrol car in the rearview mirror, I want them not to shudder in fear, but to feel confident and protected. And that was always the message that I would be put in front of my folks. And so working to reform that organization was a big passion of mine. I think we made a lot of strides, but even with all the work that I did, and there was, I held people accountable, worked to bring in the best training. I worked hard to diversify the organization. I worked hard to build diverse relationships with diverse communities, and we had great success. And I think I moved the department forward. But then when George Floyd happened, I'm not the sheriff anymore. We have a great sheriff today, but it set back everything. It literally erased everything I've done. It just, those incidents remind people of when things were much more abrasive and blatant as they were in the early days of Houston. And so now we have to dig ourselves out of that hole. And so
you think we're making some strides?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And I think that we've learned how to leverage social media. Something that was, I created the first Twitter account for the sheriff's office, and my staff was like, "Oh no, sheriff, don't do that because you got to feed the beast."
Right.
And I said, "Well, then we feed the beast." I don't understand it, but I think it's good for us to be out there.
It is, yeah.
And so I think we made a lot of strides, but that's why the actions, the misactions, the inappropriateness of one or two in a department always hurts the most, because you know where your value system is at, and the many good people that are in the department. It just takes one. To your point about parenting, man, I had a tough daddy who thought he was too tough, and so I don't know that answer. I'm a daddy today, and
you think you were too tough?
No, I think I was too lenient.
Well, my wife will tell you that she was a tough one, And your wife probably says something.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I was I'm the.
I have a daughter, so I'm a wimp,
And I would always say, look, I'm out, I'm traveling, I'm doing things. I'm not gonna come home and be the strict one. I gotta come home and say, okay, we're gonna throw a pizza party. We're gonna do this.
You're gonna be the fun guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the fun parent, But nonetheless, we always taught respect and that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think the world is busy too, right? I think people are busy.
Yeah. And I would also add that one thing that my wife and I did think about, we only had one TV in the house. And we were very intentional about that because I didn't want us having TVs all over the place.
Everybody in their own place.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Little things matter.
Yeah,
Little intentional things matter. Today would be TV, iPad, iPhone, that kind of a control.
Yeah.
All right, so you're sheriff, you resigned because you want to be mayor. How did that go?
Didn't go so well. but look, I will tell folks, and as when people come to me and say, hey, I want to run for office, I always tell them, well, you got to begin with the reality that you can lose. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have that an understanding of that, don't get into this thing, because if you don't think you can lose, it can hurt really, really bad.
I bet.
And so, and I will say that I think it's always important for everybody to appreciate a little humility. I think it helps to make you a better person. And if you end up back in elected office, I think it helps to sharpen your perspective on how to work with the community. And so, although I didn't win, I did win in other regards, because I tell you what, I was very humbled with the number of people who made me feel important when I was in office, but treated me with the exact same dignity and respect when I was out of office.
Some will say you learned more when you fell.
That's right. But you learn more.
You learn more when you
really
fell,
do.
right?
You really do.
The scars hurt. You get a little bit of war wounds, and you kind of go, okay.
Yep.
All right, so you don't win that office. What's next?
Then I get caught in a conversation about running for county commissioner. And I said, I looked at it, and I began to understand this about Precinct 2.
Correct me if I'm wrong, 4 precincts?
Correct.
Okay, so Harris County, second largest county in the U.S.?
Third largest in the U.S.
Third largest county in the U.S. And basically we have a judge, county judge that is like a mayor.
No. County judge is more like is the chair of the board.
But for the county.
For the county.
Right?
Yeah.
So she has power over the county, or he has power over the county, and and can make some rules that oversee the mayors. No?
No.
Really?
No. Our exclusive power comes from the state.
Okay.
So whatever power we have, we get it from the state. But we cannot, I have 14 cities, as a consequence, 14 mayors in my precinct. I cannot tell them anything of what to do.
Okay, but wait a minute. So let me.
I don't.
This is new to me, and I don't think most people know this.
A lot of people don't know how county government works.
Right, because they all think so. And I'm just going to use 2020 as a closest example.
Yeah.
The mayor of Houston says you can walk around without mask, and the county judge says you cannot. Who wins?
They both win, assuming they both think they're right. Because we cannot. The city has what you call ordinance making power. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow, the mayor can say, "I'm going to make an ordinance requiring masks," and there'll be a criminal consequence or financial consequence to that. We have to go to the state legislature
and ask for that permission.
And ask for that.
Adrian,
that
I am telling you. There are people out there that know that. The majority don't know that.
We can.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And look, prior to the change of power of Harris County, very few people ever saw Harris County. If you would have turned on the TV, you would think that the city of Houston is Harris County.
Correct. Agreed.
And because you just did not see the elected officials. You didn't see the work of the county for the most part. You probably may have only understood it in terms of either the tow road or the flood control district. And if you knew that the county jail belonged to a sheriff or to Harris County, then you'd understand that connection. The Ben Taub and LBJ, people would see them as public hospitals, but they belong to the county. And so beyond that, very few people would ever see their county government at work.
Yeah, I mean, it's great education, man. Way to go. Something new we learned. All right, so you decide, somebody's talking to you about being commissioner, you look to Precinct 2, and you decide to...
I decided it's a good race to run. And there was things that I felt I could sink my teeth into, and that were close to the things that I cared about. And those things were that Precinct 2 has 1,300,000 people in it today, and yet we have the lowest median income of all of Harris County. We have the lowest homeownership rate of all of Harris County. We have the lowest educational attainment rate at the high school and post-high school level. We have the highest number of children and families without health insurance, and I have the highest rates of cancer, not in the county, but in the state.
Really?
And I own the mortality rate by 20 years. People live 20 years less longer in Precinct 2 than they do in other parts of the county. So when I saw that, and
Those
I
are
saw
astonishing stats.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's...
And when I look at, and so as I understood that, and then I looked to see what the current leadership was doing, I got motivated. I said, this office is, the nice thing about being a county commissioner is that the role is almost self-defining, meaning that today I have a environmental policy advisor, I have a health services division, I have a workforce division, I have a educational initiative, none of which existed before I got here. And so I came in to impact those indexes and make the quality of life for the people who live in Precinct 2, which happened to be 62% Hispanic. I wanted to make it better. And so I'm very, very humble. We're starting year 5 here, or now year 6. And as I look back at what our work has involved, I've created the first inclusive park, which means that children and adults of all abilities or special abilities have a park that they can call home. Physical therapists now use it as a matter of their treatment of their patients. It's received state and national awards. We're graduating people through our workforce division initiatives into being certified Adobe web design individuals, certified administrative medical assistants, certified administrative legal assistants, and now they're going to be able to command better paying jobs. We're dealing with environmental issues that unfortunately have plagued the precinct. We're investing in the infrastructure. I have a number that I'm proud of, and it's growing every day. Since 2019, we have invested $665 million in some form or another, whether through the flood control district, through the toll road, through general fund, into Precinct 2 projects, whether it be human capital projects or community capital improvement projects. And I'm looking forward to celebrating $1 billion. And so, today we were meeting in this room how to build a veterans park that will be second to none. A park I helped to create when I was on city council. The city did very little with it, so Mayor Turner has let me manage it, and I'm about to pump $15 million into it to make it a state of art type of veterans memorial project. It's going to come with, I hope, in the near future, veterans housing, which all was a vision of the Vietnam veterans who I met with and would sit with in 2004, who were demanding this type of respect. And so I have boots in my office from Richard Bettis, who was the lead commando, if you will, working on that project. And since I still remember all this, all these veterans unfortunately have since passed, but I still remember. And that's what I tell folks that we met in this room. I remember what they wanted, and I'm going to work hard.
It's still in your heart.
Yeah, I'm going to work hard to deliver it.
You're starting now your 6th year
Yeah,
as
correct.
commissioner?
Yeah.
What's next for Adrian?
You know, I love this job because, you know,
You're not going to tell me, are you?
Look, I'm telling you, look, I'm ambitious. And I will tell you a quick story. My wife, before we married, I think she was measuring me, and she interviews me. She calls me up. We're not boyfriend or girlfriend or anything. And she just calls me out of the blue and says, hey, I'm doing a paper for school. It's called Men and Life Decisions. And I want to say if you wouldn't mind letting me interview you.
You're at HPD at this point?
I'm in HPD. And so she goes, I've interviewed my brother.
That's the line she used?
Yeah, man, she's
Oh,
slick.
man, I can't wait till I go out to dinner with her again.
So the long story short, so she asked me all these questions. Years later, we're married and we're cleaning out the garage, and she finds the paper. I'd completely forgotten about all this. And she goes, oh, look at this. And so I read this paper, and there's something that's written in the margin. But if you were to read that paper, it's literally a blueprint for where I'm at today. I said I wanted to retire from the Houston Police Department commanding at least 300 officers, that I would run for political office one day. But the one thing that was written in the margin that she didn't write into the text was that maybe I will end my career as governor of the state of Texas. So I don't know if that's real or not, but you know, I did not know I was following a blueprint.
So you have to give us an interview if that ever happens.
Well, we'll invite you to the governor's mansion, man.
Brother, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. I thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for your
Likewise,
service.
and all continued success.
You're a
and
great,
blessings to
great
you and
guy,
your
a man
family.
of character. You know we love you.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating.